Well, hey there. You're listening to April Reed of the Webinar Hustlers Entrepreneur Podcast, and this is episode 30.
Want to work less and sell more? Welcome to the Webinar Hustlers Entrepreneur Podcast, the podcast to help you scale up and take your business to the next level with webinars that sell for you. Each episode focuses on the money mindset, online marketing, and sales strategies to get you more leads and convert leads to sales, all with webinars. And now your host, business and webinar strategist, April Reed.
Hey, so today I'm going to talk about the structure of your webinar. So whether you're doing a webinar or a Facebook Live, they both pretty much seem to follow the same type of flow. You're going to start with a title or headline. Now, your headline is going to be the hook. That's what draws them in. So spend some time on the headline. It's very important. Follow that by an introduction. And following the introduction, you're going to share a story. And this is how you're going to get them to relate, get them to actually come with you on this journey that you're about to take them when you go into your teaching points. Now, I suggest your teaching points having 3, not more than 5. I love the number 3. There's just something about the number 3. So you're going to teach your 3 teaching points. And as a matter of fact, for a Facebook Live, 3 teaching points is fabulous because people don't want to be on a live that's 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, maybe if it's a masterclass, but like a quick little Facebook Live, people will just want to get in, get out, and know what they need to do to take action and get results. After your teaching point, if you're doing a Facebook Live, this is going to be your summary. It's called a recap if you're doing a webinar. And then follow that, you're going to get into your call to action, or in a webinar case, the 2 options. What are you going to do? You're going to do this by yourself as you've been doing, or are you going to seek my course, my coaching, whatever that is? Now, of these points that I mentioned in the structure, I want to do a little bit of a deep dive into the introduction because the introduction is important. Now, the headline is important too. That's how we get them to stop the post. That's how we scroll proof. But the intro lets them know, hey, you need to stick around. You need to stick around. Now, your introduction is so important because it's actually going to build the case for your webinar topic, and better yet, a case for your offer at the end. So you really want to get this right. A webinar is not a lecture, so don't bore your audience to death. This is not a lecture. You want to create excitement. So not only does the hook draw them in and the intro lets them know why they need to stay, there's got to be some sort of excitement, and it really helps if you're passionate about what you're teaching so that the excitement in you, it just naturally bursts out and bubbles out. Have you ever heard someone that was so passionate about something when they talk that they just drew you in? It's like, I have no interest in this topic whatsoever, but just to hear this person talk about it, I love fossils too. I mean, okay, I'm getting off track where I'm talking about how you present. I want to stay on topic to your intro. So sorry about that. Okay, but you know what I mean. So back on topic to the intro, yes, you want to create the excitement, and you're also going to build a case for your webinar and why they need to stay. So let's look at how you actually going to structure this introduction. Now, you can include in your intro a welcome. So that just depends on if you start your webinar 5 to 15 minutes early. You might do your kind of hellos and breaking the ice and welcome and chitty chatty before the actual webinar starts. But just saying hello to everyone, welcoming them. If this was something that was face to face and they came to your home, you would definitely say hello to everybody, shake their hands. You just wouldn't start talking about the presentation. So the intro starts with a welcome. Now, how long this welcome lasts just depends on when you start the webinar. So if you start the webinar right on time, which I don't suggest, but if you did, so if you had a 1 p.m. Eastern webinar and you started at 1 p.m. Eastern, your welcome will probably be about a minute or two, versus if you started at 12:45 Eastern, you have 15 minutes just to say hello and give a little chit chat to all the early birds that are on the call with you and dive a little deeper and get to know them a little more, get to know your audience a little more. From there, you're going to share the topic of your webinar. You're going to share the title. And if the title is results oriented, it should be pretty easy to figure out what they're going to discover on this webinar or what the promise is that they're going to get after this webinar. Now, I want you to think of your webinar like a funnel. So at the top of the funnel is the wider side of the funnel of the triangle. So like an upside down triangle. And this is where we are attracting everyone we've attracted through our blog posts, our social media posts, or our Facebook ads, and they have registered for the webinar. And this is the percentage that actually show up live. And so we're capturing everyone here. And what I mean by funnel is as you progress through the webinar, you're going to let them know who this webinar topic is for, because some people may get confused depending on what your topic, what title you use for your webinar, and they might think it's for them. So this is just a way to get rid of the tire kickers, get rid of, that sounds kind of mean, but just to excuse the tire kickers and let them know this is not for them or anybody else who may have stumbled on the wrong webinar. Maybe they got confused, transposed some words or whatever and thought they were on something else. So after you give a little bit of what the webinar is about with the title, you're going to basically flow into who this webinar is for. So you can create a slide that says this webinar is for you and then a few bullet points, or you can have multiple slides. So if you have this webinar is for you and you have like 5 bullet points, each slide could have its own bullet point, or you could have the bullet points on one slide, but don't crowd anything out. So probably wouldn't do all 5 bullets. It's probably 3 on the first slide and 2 on the second. What else you can do is you're in the right place and you're just going to describe who your ideal client is so they can resonate and do like a mental, yeah, that's me. As a matter of fact, again, this isn't a lecture. You're not just standing up here talking while they just sit and listen to you. This is the perfect opportunity to add some engagement and say, hey, does this sound like you? Type a 1 in the chat or type that's me if this sounds like you. Okay, and then call out their names. People love to hear their names. I love to hear my name. So by this time, you have weeded out anyone who feels like, no, this is not right for me. That doesn't sound like who I am at all. So, and that's okay. That is okay. We're not out to waste anybody's time. So if they're not right for this webinar, a few are going to hop off the webinar, and that's okay. Now, after that, what I really like to do is I like to add a statistic here. So something that's really going to wow them, something that's really going to jar them, like that is going to cause them to say, wow, I didn't know that. I need to be on this webinar because I need to figure out the solution. I need to not be whatever that statistic is. So like if your statistic is, what's the number? Like 1 out of 4, 90%. I should have looked this up before I came on this podcast. But anyway, so I'm totally like making this up because I haven't looked this up yet. But 90% of businesses fail within the first year. So this webinar is going to teach you how you can safeguard your business. So people may not know that, especially new entrepreneurs. They may not know that the percentage of businesses fail is high. Now, I do know that it's high, but I'm not completely sure if it's 90%, but I do know it's high. 90% is probably pretty close. So that alone is staggering. It's like, wow. And you also want to credit where you got the information. And so go to Google and what stat that your audience may or may not be aware of. Sometimes we forget these things. So a fresh reminder is good. That is going to cause them to go like, OMG, wow, I didn't know that. I forgot about that. That is so right. Thanks for reminding me. Help. I need to know how you're going to help me safeguard my business, or maybe the percentage of people who lose 50 pounds within the first 3 or 4 months, 90% of them gain it back within, 2 months, whatever. I'm making this up too. I'm not a health coach. So just to know that, that's scary. You lose 50 pounds and you had to be on this diet or not. And you had to do all these exercise and have a change in lifestyle. And you did it all on your own. But to know that not having a health coach, there's a pretty high percentage that you're going to go right back and gain those 50 pounds after 2 months. Wow, maybe I need to listen to this webinar. Maybe I need to listen to what she has to say. And maybe I should be getting a health coach. So it's really good during the intro just to throw in that statistic in there. Again, we want to build a case for why they need to stay on our webinar and also create excitement. And I guess with the statistic, it will create amazement too. So following that, we can finally get into what they're going to learn. So you just say it like that on the slide, what you're going to learn, what you'll discover, however you want to do it. But this is where you want to list those 3 to 5 elements that they're going to actually learn on this webinar. Now, one thing I've been noticing is a trend for shorter webinars. I was on a 30-minute webinar and I loved it. When it was over, I was like, oh my gosh, I learned everything I needed to learn and it's over in 30 minutes. So that's something I'm experimenting with, is a 30-minute webinar. So you can't have 5 teaching points on a 30-minute webinar. So I'm going down to 3 teaching points. And once I get more statistics, I will share with you what I found. Okay, so you are going to tell your audience what they're going to learn. And again, just like the introduction, we're still in the introduction. We want to create excitement. We want these teaching points to be action oriented. We want to use buzzwords and easy words like simple and easy and step-by-step process. And we want to use their words, what they're trying to discover. What are their objections? Here is where you might say, and we're also going to discover how to make sales on a discovery call without you having to be all salesy. Now, by this time around, pretty much entrepreneurs know the whole thing about a webinar. Obviously, there's going to be an offer at the end, unless you are new. I've been in the game for a couple years, so I have to, things that are familiar to me now, I have to remember that there are people coming into this entrepreneurial life that are now where I was a couple years ago, where it was like, wait a minute, they're selling on a webinar? Like, the only webinars I ever known were corporate America, and they were usually just talking about the company policies and what we had to do and stuff like that. I didn't even know what a landing page or anything like that was. So pretty much people know that there's going to be an offer at the end, but at the same time, I just like to be transparent up front. And here is where I say, and there's going to be an offer at the end. Now, I wouldn't say it like that, obviously, but you could just let them know that once you have taught or somewhere later on the presentation, like some people are going to want a deeper understanding, a deeper dive into what was taught, and you're going to share with them how they can do that. And that's going to be either your program or maybe just booking a free session with you. Okay, so let's just kind of recap this very important introduction. So first, you want to get them with the headline, aka the hook. And And the hook is what you share, they're going to get at the end. It's the promise. It's the transformation they're going to get by staying on this call. Following that, we want to start weeding out the people who may have signed up for the wrong webinar, thought it was something that it wasn't, and other people who aren't serious about learning and maybe the tire kickers. Here we want to let them know whether or not they're in the right place. So this masterclass is for you. You're in the right place. Does this sound like you? Those are 3 very good examples that you can put on your slide deck to address whether the people on the webinar are the right people. Next, I like to add a statistic to my webinars. Something that's going to add clarity, something that's going to teach them a short fact that they didn't know. Something that's going to have a mindset change, like an instant mindset shift. And you get to do it in 1 or 2 sentences right in the very beginning before you even get to your teaching points. Following that, you talk about what your audience is going to learn. What are you going to teach? What they're going to discover. And this is going to be 3 to 5 teaching points. And each teaching point, try to make them a really stellar, result-oriented topic of their own. It's like mini topics, mini teaching points. Following that, I want you to be transparent and just let them know that for anybody who wants to dive deeper on this topic, there's going to be an opportunity for you to learn how you can work with me further, and I'm going to share that with you. Okay, fabulous. This has been awesome, and I hope that you got something really, 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 really grand and valuable out of this topic today. Your introduction to your webinar is extremely important. Actually, it's kind of late tonight. It's like 11:20. So yes, good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions and hit me up. All right, bye. Thank you so much for listening. And hey, if you need more support in your business, then I'm going to invite you to apply for your complimentary 45-minute 2018 business growth strategy session. Now, in this session, we'll work together to create a sense of clarity about the business you really want to have. We'll also discover the essential building blocks for having the business that you want, uncover the number 1 thing stopping you from having the business of your dreams, identify the most powerful actions that will move you towards the business you desire, and you're going to leave this session with excitement of knowing exactly what to do next to create the coaching or consulting business that you truly desire. If you would like to take advantage of this very special, very limited, and totally free 45-minute business growth coaching strategy session, then schedule a time and complete the application. All you have to do is go to www.aprilreed.com/contact. So that's www.aprilreed.com/contact. Okay, see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Webinar Hustlers Entrepreneur Podcast at www.aprilreed.com.